Big fights as of late, but I think this feels like the biggest so far. What's the feeling like compared to past fights?
I mean, just a lot more like obligations to do before the fight. You know, obviously it's a pay-per-view co-main, so just busier. You know, lots more just interviews and stuff like that.
Myles, in the main event, they're talking about, you know, like John is undefeated even though he has a disqualification loss, and then Dana said, you know, you were undefeated, but you had that loss in tough. Do you regard yourself as undefeated, or, you know, how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's both. You know, I mean, technically as a professional, I'm undefeated, but if you want to count like exhibition matches, like Ultimate Fighters, I'm not. So I mean, it's kind of just a matter of opinion. You know, I feel like. I mean, technically, I feel like, yeah, I'm undefeated, but at the same time, I feel like I got the best of both worlds because I know what it's like to lose also and have to come back from that.
And what was it like, you know, to lose that fight and have to try to recover your career?
It was tough, you know, back then. I mean, you know, obviously that was a long time ago, so, you know, I kind of just had me to pick myself up. I kind of got written off really quick back then, and, you know, I had to kind of find out where I'm at and get better and constantly improve and keep coming out here and, you know, showcasing my skills. So it's kind of a tough road, but it's been worth it.
How much are you able to appreciate a moment like this, Myles? Going through the first Ultimate Fighter, blowing your knee out, having to sit out for a year, coming back, going through another Ultimate Fighter, that was the 13-week version. I mean, how much can you appreciate a moment like this to get to this point in your career?
I appreciate it a lot. You know, it's a gift to be able to come out here and do what I do because, you know, like I've said it many times before, I know what it's like to get cut from the UFC before I actually ever fought in the UFC. You know, when I tore my ACL, you know, I had to get sent home, and you know, to be able to be out here and do this right now, it's like I said, it's a gift, and try and just enjoy it, be in the moment, you know.
Do you feel at all that you're being underestimated in this fight by your opponent?
I feel like I always get, like, I don't know if you want to say underestimated, but I feel like none of my opponents really ever respect me, which is cool, you know, that's their personal opinion. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, I definitely feel like, you know, they feel like they can just smoke me before I ever get in there.
Myles, when you were on the plane going home after the first Ultimate Fighter, when, you know, you were theoretically cut, I mean, what's going through your mind at that point? Are you thinking, like, what do I do? Is my career lost? Like, how does that go?
You know, honestly, it was just, at that point, I was just trying to be as positive as I could. You know, everything was just really tough, so I was just looking at the positive stuff. I was like, hey, man, at least I got a chance to meet Dana White. I got a chance to get my foot in the door. And, you know, talking to all the producers at the Ultimate Fighter, they always said I'd be back. So I was like, hey, I'm holding you guys to your word. So even though I knew I couldn't be back for another year or so, I was still holding on to that dream.
So what was a bigger hurdle, that or when you lost the second time you were on the show?
The injury or the loss?
The injury or the loss, what was harder?
I would have to say the injury because the injury is a little bit different. You know, at least with a loss, you can come back, you can train, you can get another fight, and continue going. But the tough thing about the injury was, I mean, I tore my ACL and I couldn't even train, so I couldn't even get better. I couldn't work on anything. I literally had to just sit in the bedroom and watch everybody on the Ultimate Fighter 13 run away with my dream. So, you know, it was definitely a lot more mentally challenging. Kind of makes you face a lot more demons.
Donald kind of described this as like the old guard against the new guard. If he learned one discipline and then kind of mixed in the other stuff, and you kind of came up learning all of MMA, would you think that's a pretty fair assessment of it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like, you know, one of the advantages of growing up and kind of starting at, you know, jiu-jitsu and wrestling and striking all together kind of at the same time is, you know, when I look at myself, I don't really have like any crazy like base. It's kind of just like everything. So, you know, it's kind of cool, you know, because I'm not really biased towards any part of the martial arts. It's just whatever is like effective.
So when did you start training and everything?
I started training when I was 13. So, I mean, I'm 26 now, so 13 years ago.
What are your thoughts about Cowboy? A lot of people grew up enjoyed watching him. Did you enjoy watching him?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Cowboy's been around for a while. He's a household name. And, you know, he's fought pretty much everybody. And, you know, he's got a fun, stylistically matchup fighting for whoever he fights, you know, because he always comes out and brings it. And, you know, this is what I'm here for. That's what I want. I want opportunities to put myself out there and be a household name. And, you know, I'm hoping that over time of, you know, taking more fights, big fights with big names, that people understand me as a fighter and as a person. And hopefully, you know, one day I'll be, you know, in the Cowboys, like, household name type of respect.
I feel like this is the fight to get you that title recognition this year because, you know, the guys that beat Cowboy in the UFC, they're very few and far between. Nate Diaz got a title shot. Rafael Dos Anjos about to go for the title. Do you feel like this is Pettis? I mean, do you feel like this is that fight for you that should get you into that race?
You know, I feel like looking at it, like on paper, you know, if I beat Cowboy Cerrone, I feel like that puts me right in line for a title shot. As far as like, is this the one fight, the make or break fight or anything like that, I don't think so, because you know, I take every fight by fight, and you know, I know what it's like I said, I'm the Ultimate Fighter, to lose that fight, and then look where I am now. So I mean, I can always come back from adversity. I know I'm tough like that as a person. So you know, I'm just looking forward to the opportunity right now.
So you started training at 13. Was there a time, like maybe a fight or something that you watched where you're like, okay, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I watched Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock, UFC 40. Back when, you know, they had the freaking fireworks, and Tito came out to Limp Bizkit break stuff, and then their whole you know, beef going up until that fight. And I was like, man, I want to do that. And you know, I was training at the time, so I was like, why not? You know, why not try and just do that?
Do you want to start a beef with somebody to kind of relive that?
You know, honestly, it's not my type of style. You know, I was a big Tito fan when I was younger, but I think that was just, you know, I was like young, I was a kid. But as I grew older and I kind of matured more, I really took a liking to like GSP style and, you know, the respect for the martial arts. And you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really need to talk stuff about people to get motivated. This is literally what I do, like every day. You know, no matter who the opponent is, I'm always trying to get better. So no, I mean, I don't really feel like I have to.
Another thing that Donald said was that in his day, it was like you wanted to be a fighter and you just had a fighter's heart. And now it's like athletes like yourself and other guys that are, you know, you're an athlete, you're going to try to make yourself into a great fighter. Do you kind of understand where he's coming from, or what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like back in the day, you know, you couldn't make really any money off this sport. And nowadays, when you can, I feel like you get a lot more athletes, a lot more people that want to make it a lifestyle because they can make money. You know, they can feed their families and everything like that. So I feel like now you're getting, you know, different types of people. Not only just people that just like to fight, but people that are, like you said, athletes and that can fight, all of the above.
You're in the main event of a huge crowd now. What's your notoriety like? Do you get recognized when you walk down the street?
Not really. I mean, I do. I get like weird looks all the time, but I don't know if they like because they know who I am as a fighter, or if like I don't know if I just send off weird vibes or whatnot. I don't know. But I mean, in home in Michigan and you know, like the Midwest, I get a lot of like recognition. But San Diego, you know, not too much.
Do you feel like in some ways you've kind of become a role model in that sense for the next generation coming up under you? How does that feel?
I feel like I try and make, like, first things first is like I'm not perfect at all. You know, I make mistakes and I do a lot of dumb stuff too. But at the end of the day, you know, I try and make a conscious decision to know that there's kids out there looking, there's people that actually look up to me and follow exactly what I do. So, you know, what I consciously put out there and stuff like that, I always try and make it positive, like you said, and that type of like a role model. But like I said, at the end of the day, you know, no one's perfect, and I'm definitely not claiming to be.
Did you get any good advice from your barber? It seemed like you guys were talking fights a little bit.
Not really. My barber, they're just big fans. You know, me and Jeremy Stevens go in there a lot, always get our haircut, and you know, they're just big fight fans, so they're just always kind of asking all kinds of crazy questions and seeing what's going on.
Can you just comment on how you stop Cowboys kicks? I mean, that's been a big factor for him in so many of his wins. And, you know, is that a thing that you're concerned about?
For sure. I mean, you got to be concerned about Cowboys kicks. Like you said, I mean, that's one of his biggest tools. And to figure out how I'm going to deal with those, you just have to tune in January 3rd.